Just gave the baby chicks a piece of sweet corn. They're feasting on it, enjoying it. Happy little birds. September 1st, 2020. Goldenrod is very slow opening this year, but I did manage to stage it out a bit. Despite this crazy dry summer we've had, I still managed. I did an early cutting in here, and I haven't mowed any of this since like June sometime, I think. And so now with the rain shot that we got, this stuff is growing back a little bit, and we'll have a couple different stages of goldenrod. I like this mow in the spring thing into the goldenrod. It really gives us a nice delayed goldenrod spurt at the end of the season, and that gives the honeybees one more last opportunity to pull in high quality resources while they're really getting ready to settle in that winter nest. And that's one thing that I know Ian Stepler focuses on a lot, is building strong winter nest colonies. And so I've kind of like learned that from him, and I'm trying to adopt it into my program using as many natural processes as I can. So I'll just get a clip of this quick. Here we are where I'm planning to expand the apiary area here, and on the new roadway looking back at the chicken tractor and corn plots. And I scraped this out last year, I think, last fall or winter, and it's grown back in now really nicely. Lots of diversity, lots of goldenrod, and those are starting to open. Wild raspberry back over in here, I was enjoying those earlier in the season. And there's even some giant Canadian thistle here. Not necessarily a fan of that because it can kind of take over, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, I just thought I would show how this has grown back in, and how the diversity has stayed here through natural processes. It's kind of interesting. I got some final grading to do in here, a little bit of cut fill here and there. But for the most part, this new roadway is done. It's nice to have an alternate route to that crazy side slope roadway. And a way around, there's a huge maple tree over there that I know is coming down at some point. It's leaning a little more every year. And when that comes down, it's going to block off that old roadway. We'll have a brandy new one, so we don't have to worry about it. Guess I'll just get a shot here of ongoing damage to the sweet corn. We're really kind of ticked about it. Quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of ears of corn lost. And late last night, well, it would be early morning to most people, I discovered it was a skunk that's been doing all this. Doing just a quick check back in the delicata squash. Some of those are coming on nicely. Something chewing on this one. Don't know what. Looks like we got a few in through here. Yeah, good few. Another one coming on back in there. Back in there, there's one. There's one here. One here. So that's good news. It's good to see. And the incredible sweet corn in the curve block planting is into full tassel and starting to throw silks. And the Silver Queen is running a bit further behind that. A little bit drier soil in there, significantly less sunlight. So I gotta come back and prune out this cherry tree again. Maybe I'll just scrape that out with the tractor. And let's see, so on the positive side, these sunflowers have absolutely exploded and are getting ready to throw some flowers out. So that's nice to see. Get some nice sunflower nectar and pollen for the honeybees late season. Build up that winter nest with nice high quality nectar and pollen. Well, where I got the cover crop drilled in, the buckwheat and rye, and the buckwheat's germinating, that's taken off, so that's encouraging. The other block of buckwheat up top, that strips of buckwheat and rye are doing well. And that next planting I put into that spot where the soil kind of tanked on me, not so much, low germination. But I did not scratch till that in, and I think that's a big part of why the germination is so low in there. But we'll see how it all plays out. And then when the tiller belt comes in and I have the money for it, I'll finish tilling this in, I guess. If it doesn't germinate with the rain we're getting. Actually, it looks like some of these are germinating already. I see buckwheat popping up in here. Maybe we'll just hold off and see what happens. Interesting experiment with just broadcasting buckwheat and rye on top of basically sod. I don't know how well that's going to do. I'm not expecting great results, but we'll see. Either way, right now we have green growing crops on top of it, grasses. So either way, we're sequestering carbon, maintaining soil biology, kind of helping keep that soil better than open bare ground. Apple tree is doing okay. A few apples coming on. Not looking too bad. September 1st, 2020. I've been trying to pay closer attention in recent years to when I plant any kind of crop into any soil plot, to pay attention to the subtle differences across where that soil's been treated differently. And I've noticed in this buckwheat planting in here, well, first of all, it's taken off really nice. Really healthy, stout, robust growth, so that's good. That's part of what happens when you're building soils. But I've noticed some subtle things here, like this spot where I tilled back in the spring, and actually probably again mid or late June. It's about a 5 or 6 foot wide strip that I tilled in here. This was orange Hawaiian marigold in here last year. Oh, look at him going in after the nectar. That long tongue. And then on the left-hand side was a double row of Roma San Marzano tomatoes, and same on the right-hand side. But it's interesting to see how much taller the buckwheat is in this block in between those two spots. Sort of counterintuitive, because you would think, given that these were mulched and kept in a more natural soil ecosystem, a non-disturbed soil ecosystem, you would think that these would perform better, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. And it kind of makes me think about one of the podcasts or webinars I was listening to from Advancing Eco-Agriculture from John Kempf. I think it's releasing manganese in the soil or something like that. But he talks about oxidation versus reduction in soils. And he kind of goes into that fairly deep, science-wise. But he talks about how different soils need, different management based on the soil. And when I listened to that talk, it really helped me click into another level of resolution of understanding, so to speak. Because I realize here with our heavy clay soils, that tilling is not necessarily a bad thing here. We kind of need some oxidation and aeration. These soils here in Tivoli are very heavy, tight clays, and if we don't open them up a little bit in order to get biology and life and nutrient and life cycles going in them, they really don't perform well. So looking back at this, having considered that, knowing that this was tilled a couple times this year, and other than that, they were treated the same last year. You know, everything was tilled in here, and then these were planted in, and then these two strips to the left and to the right were mulched heavily and maintained. I'll try and dig up a shot of those. July 15th, 2019. Just wanted to some weeds did get out of hand in there last year, and they certainly did this spring, between springtime and when I got around to wiping those out and removing that infrastructure. But it's just an interesting comparison between the two, and it's pretty definitive here. This was tilled over here on the edge a couple times this spring as well, and then this was what was mulched in here, and it's really, man, there's a definitive difference here. This is the tilled strip, and then over there was the mulched strip again. So it looks like maybe in order to have a better effect in these tight clay soils here until I can get this soil organic matter up and start to get better aggregation in the soil, it might even be beneficial to do an early season till. But we'll see. This is a cool experiment to try it with, and in the meantime we're building soils back up, helping kind of block weeds out, and getting ready to provide another nectar and pollen crop for the honeybees. So that's always nice.